Hello, colleagues. Welcome to day 5 of this introductory training on water safety plan auditing. This is it, everyone. It's our last session together. So Daryl and I have discussed it, and we agree that we're going to miss spending a part of every day with you. So it's been a nice week. All right, what have we covered on days 1 to 4? We started off with a brief review of water safety plan steps and key terms, because water safety plan auditors must be very well versed in water safety plans. Then we talked about water safety plan auditing, what it means, why we do it, who should do it, and some rules of thumb on when to do it. On day 2, we moved on to the particulars of the water safety plan audit process and tools, covering what to do to prepare for an audit and how to make use of some available forms. On day 3, we talked about effective information gathering, including avoiding yes and no questions, and we practiced assigning a score to an audit question. And yesterday, we talked about wrapping up and following up an audit. And then we switched perspectives halfway through the session, and we started to discuss key questions related to setting up an auditing scheme, including auditor qualifications and certification. And then we heard from Bonnie and Ahsoka on those topics. And that brings us up to today. So we thought we would begin today as we did yesterday, with a question and answer session. But rather than Daryl and I giving you our answers, we thought we'd put to you some of the very interesting questions that have come in. We're curious to know what you think. So Daryl and I have created a few polls to present to the group some of your own questions for further discussion today. So let's see how you weigh in on these issues.
So the first poll we're going to have is going to ask this question. And this is about the water suppliers' incentives to do audits. So the question you're going to be asked is, how should the auditing body incentivize water suppliers to engage in auditing? Carrots or sticks, that is. Carrots means rewards or sticks means penalties. So I'm going to launch the poll, and then you can have a go of doing that. And these are the results. Nobody said just sticks. 25% of people said carrots, but the vast majority, 75% of people said have a combination of rewards and threats. And that's the best way to go. You got any comments on that, Angela?
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. Just to say that, of course, there's no right or wrong answer to this, and it'll be up to individual countries to make this decision. Yesterday, we heard from Ahsoka that the supplier's incentive to engage with auditing is that it's a regulatory requirement, full stop. They have to do it, so they do it. But of course, regulatory water safety plan auditing in Victoria is very well established. In the Philippines, where WSP auditing is newly being introduced, Bonnie talked us through the early thinking about how to incentivize water suppliers to support auditing through some sort of rewards program. And I can certainly see the case for trying to offer some carrots to help suppliers accept auditing as it's first being introduced. So it's interesting to see that 3 and 4 of us thought some combination of carrots and sticks is appropriate. Okay, Daryl, what's our next question?
Okay, this next question is about the water auditor's experience. So the question is, where WSP auditing is a surveillance function, it will generally fall to the health sector, for example, the Ministry of Health. So that's just some background to the question. So the question is, can or should technical capacity be developed within the Ministry of Health to audit WSPs directly? And there will be two a couple of answers there you can choose from. So I'll launch that poll. There are 3 possible answers you can choose for that. So if you think it's the Ministry of Health, should do their own, you can choose the first one. To some extent, but an audit team approach is better, choose the second. Or no, it's not feasible and it's better for the Ministry of Health to delegate to somebody else. That's the third option. I'm sharing the results. So nobody said, yes, the Ministry of Health staff can be trained to audit their own. So nobody has said that. 75% of people chose the second one, which was that to some extent, yes, the Ministry of Health could do it, but an audit team approach is better. And 25% of people said, no, it's not feasible and it's better for the Ministry of Health to delegate that to a certified third parties. And I'll stop sharing the results. You got any comments on that, Angela?
Yes, thank you, Daryl. So again, of course, there's no right or wrong answers here, and the best approach will vary by country. I just wanted to flag that each of those approaches on that list is being applied somewhere or another. In New Zealand, for example, water safety plan auditing is carried out by qualified health sector staff directly. So they have a training program to build that capacity. In other places, multi-agency water safety plan audit teams are used to satisfy the various auditor requirements. So Bonnie told us yesterday about the use of teams for phase 1 auditing in the Philippines. And in still other places, certified third parties carry out auditing, such as in Victoria, the example that Ahsoka offered us yesterday. So it's a matter of weighing out the options and deciding what works best in a given context. Okay, Daryl, do you have another question for us?
I certainly do.
Thought you might.
Yep. Okay, this particular one is about auditor certification. So the question is, how should auditors be certified? By the auditing agency, for example, the Ministry of Health, a national third party, or an international third party? And I will launch this poll so you can tell us what you think about that. The results are 2 people, which is 5%, said the first option, that by an in-house Ministry of Health certifier is most cost-effective and appropriate. 68%, that's 25 people, said by a national third party. And 10% said by an international third party. And I'll stop sharing results. Angela, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Daryl. Just to say that I was really interested to see how people would respond to this one, because this is a very important question that some of the countries with us are wrestling with right now, how to go about certifying auditors. Can it be handled by the auditing body, such as the Ministry of Health? If not, can a national certification body be established? Or is there potential for synergies and efficiencies if a regional body is established to certify and periodically recertify auditors? So through the years, there's been quite a lot of interest expressed in a regional certifying body, and it'll be interesting to continue this discussion to explore regional certifying body and also to see in parallel where countries get with efforts to establish national certifying bodies. It'll be interesting to continue that discussion, including what WHO's role might be. Okay, Daryl, do you have another question for us?
I certainly do again. So this one is about auditor independence. Is it okay for WSP trainers to serve as WSP auditors? And the results are, yes, no problem, said 44% of people. So roughly half. Roughly half again, 47% said possibly, but not ideal. And just only 3 people, which is 8%, said no, it would violate independence.
Thank you, Daryl. This is another one I was really interested to see how people would respond. And so it's interesting to see there's a split between yes, can be done, and possibly, but not ideal. This is another really important question that's of interest to many people in the room. It came up in our discussions yesterday. Deciding who is best placed to audit requires balancing the benefits of full auditor independence with practical realities of where water safety plan expertise and mandates sit in a country. So can WSP trainers be independent auditors? It's a really good question. So let's consider the case of Laos, where urban water suppliers have received water safety plan training from the Ministry of Public Works and Transport. So is this ministry then well placed to lead water safety plan audits of those water suppliers that they've trained? So in one sense, yes, as they have the water supply system technical knowledge to be effective auditors, and they have the WSP knowledge. And there's some degree of independence there, isn't there? Because the ministry staff are external to the water supplier. But on the other hand, it may be difficult for those individuals to be objective and to spot weaknesses in a water safety plan that they had a hand in developing. So in Laos, formal external audits are formally the mandate of the Ministry of Health. It's a surveillance function. And a water safety plan audit team approach was agreed, whereby the Ministry of Health leads an audit team that includes participants, members from the Ministry of Public Works and Transport in order to tap into that technical expertise. So that's the solution that they found, to have maximum independence, but also get that technical expertise. So before we move on from this question, because it's such an important one, I want to show everyone where to find some useful guidance on this very topic. So you can refer to this later and reflect on it. Everyone, this is a practical guide to auditing water safety plans. You've seen this a few times during this training. This is the guidance document that is the basis of this training. So if we look at the table of contents here, we can see that there is a section directly relating to auditor independence. Okay, so there's a section on auditor independence on page 14. So I just want to show you this and then read you this text, because I think it's nicely put here and it's helpful for you to consider down the track. So let's go to page 14, the section 7.3, which is auditor independence. So here is what it says about that. It says, countries with more developed WSP auditing programs and a sufficient pool of WSP experts may choose not to have WSP trainers participate in WSP audits for that maximum independence. But for other countries, it will not be practical to insist on this level of auditor independence. WSP trainers may be the leading or the only WSP experts available nationally, and they may therefore be the best positioned to audit water safety plans. So this will often be the case for small systems or for newer water safety plan programs more broadly. In these cases, the WSP training body may play a leading role in WSP auditing. As WSP programs mature, higher levels of independence may be sought where preferred. For instance, even where water safety plan expertise lies within a single government agency, it's possible to assign water safety plan training and water safety plan auditing responsibilities to different teams or individuals within the agency to try to get that auditor independence. Okay, so something to bear in mind about trainers being auditors.
One final question here. So this question is about financing audits. Who should bear the cost of regulatory audits? Here's the results. 35% of people said water suppliers should cover the cost, and 65% people said the regulatory authority, like the government, should cover the cost. Any comments, Angela?
Yes, thank you, Daryl. Just to say that, as with all of these other questions, it'll be down to individual countries to decide how audits should be financed. In some cases, such as Victoria, Australia, water suppliers must cover the cost of auditing. In other cases, the government agency tasked with auditing incurs that cost. As an example, at one point that was the case in New Zealand, although I'm not up to date on the current situation. In the UK, audits were once financed directly by the government, and since they've transitioned to having the suppliers cover those costs. It's worth reflecting that whether we're talking about urban or rural, WSP auditing can be an important factor in the who pays discussion. So it can be much trickier to work out who should pay for small or rural water supply system audits. So I'd be curious if some of the difference we saw there in whether people thought suppliers or government should pay, people might have been thinking about different context, urban versus rural as well. Okay, so I think that that's all our questions. Isn't that right, Daryl?
Absolutely. So what's up next?
So we're truly on the home stretch now. I want to take some time at this point to clarify where you can find some useful resources for you to use when you go forth with WSP auditing after this training event. So firstly, we have this, a practical guide to auditing water safety plans, which we've referenced quite a lot over the last few days. And this document provides guidance on carrying out an audit, preparing for, carrying out, and following up an audit. In other words, what an individual auditor needs to do. It also has guidance on developing a WSP audit scheme, for instance, a national WSP audit program. And it includes tips and examples, case studies, and tools. So it's a really helpful resource. And if we can think all the way back to day one, I helped Daryl navigate to the WHO site where the WSP auditing guide is located. So to get here, if you remember, Daryl simply typed in WSP auditing into his search engine. And then he navigated to this page. And at the bottom of this page, he mentioned that there's a WSP audit training package that's based on the WSP auditing guide. And this is a really useful resource for WSP audit trainers and auditors alike. So this training package here, and again, this is what you can find on that site that has the WSP auditing guide. This WSP audit training package will be really useful to a lot of people in this room. For those people who will be conducting audits, some of the tools in this package will be really useful. The audit toolbox that we've worked with so much these last days is in there. So that has the scoring forms and all of those forms to plan and carry out an audit. And also, if you remember, we had the mock inception meeting and the closeout meeting. So as an auditor, when you show up to a site to conduct an audit, you'll need to walk people through what you're planning to do and objectives and so on. The inception meeting, and when you conclude an audit, you'll have some sort of a closeout meeting. Now the slides that were presented to you are available in this package, and they're in PowerPoint form. So you can use that template and edit it however you like. So be aware that those tools are there and available for your use. Now, for those of you who will be supporting WSP audit training, you'll find this package very useful, we hope. This package includes everything a trainer needs to deliver an audit training workshop. All of the training slides, the workshop program, the audit toolbox, a number of activity worksheets, everything on this list here. So everything you would need to carry out a training is available for you. And again, it's all in editable format, so you can customize for your national context. So please remember that that's there and make good use of that resource. Okay, in the practical guide to auditing water safety plans at the back, there's a number of case studies from countries where WSP audit programs are well established, including Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, South Africa, England, and Wales. And resources from these established audit programs, a lot of them are available. They're just a Google search away. So out of curiosity, I myself went into Google and I entered these search terms. I entered Victoria, Australia, audit guidance note. And sure enough, I found this resource from Australia. This is the one that Asoka had mentioned. It's an audit guidance note, and it's a really useful resource that I suggest you all have a look at. Let's have a quick look at the table of contents here. It's got information about auditor certification and audit roles and responsibilities. It's got information about sort of expectations and criteria for compliance and non-compliance. So it's worth having a look at this resource and considering if it can add value to your own efforts to establish audit programs and carry out audits. And then I just wanted to flag that for those of you who have been involved in climate resilient water safety planning, meaning using the WSP approach to ensure that the potential impacts of climate variability and change on drinking water supplies are being considered and addressed, there is a guidance note on auditing specifically climate resilient water safety plans that's in development, and it's anticipated for publication next year. So stay tuned for that. And last, but certainly not least, I want to remind you that one of the most valuable resources available to you is each other. Some countries in the region are doing excellent work in this area, including the Philippines. And thanks to Bonnie once again for explaining the great work you're doing there. So I just want to encourage you all to avoid reinventing the wheel and instead stay connected to each other, to track progress and to share resources and learnings. And certainly the WHO regional offices can help with that.
So, congratulations to everybody. We've actually covered all the material we were going to cover. We've got a few more things to do very soon, so don't go away yet. So together we've covered the basics of WSP auditing. What we're going to do now is talk and just check in about the objectives. We're going to do an evaluation together of the training, which we'll do very soon. And then we'll also be later on there'll be some comments about the certificates. You remember that we started day one with these training objectives. This is what we were targeting ourselves to do. By the end of this workshop, you should be able to describe the what, why, who, and when of auditing. You should be able to list what an auditor should do before, during, and after an audit. And you should be able to locate and use various forms and tools available to support the audit, which is what Angela's just recapped, and that fantastic resources available to you. And all of this should allow you to apply this knowledge to support WSP auditing in whatever context you've got, whether that's doing an audit yourself or being audited. Now, we recognize at the start of this training, there was a wide range of knowledge and experience in all of us. And we truly hope that we have helped you to achieve these objectives. And of course, learning should be fun and enjoyable. So we also hope that you've had a really good, enjoyable and fun time this week in our training sessions. I'm about to hand over to the regional officers for some closing remarks. And I'd just like to thank everybody for your participation. It's been really good to see you all coming back every day. And as the week went through, as we got better with breakout groups, to see that participation increasing. So once again, I really want to thank the facilitators and the regional officers for their support in doing this training. And I would love to see you again. And it's been great to hear some voices from people occasionally and names that I've met before. So it's just a pity we couldn't catch up in person. So once again, thank you to you all. And at that, I'll hand over to Jean. Jean?
Thank you. Thank you to you, Daryl and Angela. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I am, as you already know, Jean Peralta, covering health and environment programs of the Western Pacific Regional Office in Manila. I'm very pleased to note that there's been another successful collaboration in learning between trainers and participants. Congratulations to the participants for completing this WSP audit training. And thank you for staying with us throughout the week and for your enthusiasm to participate and to learn more about WSP audit. This joint bi-regional training is indeed more efficient, don't you think? And we should do this again. You, the participants, will be expected to be involved somehow in WSP audit activities in your own countries. You will be contributing to the attainment of SDG goals 3 and 6, and also to improve the environmental determinants of health for better outcomes. We are grateful to the trainers, Daryl and Angela, for their excellent training approach and best efforts to convey the practical guide to WSP auditing. And with the help of resource persons such as Asoka, David, and Bonnie, I am sure you agree with me that they have done a wonderful job, especially with the challenge of the virtual learning, and they have raised the bar for online training, I must say. Thank you to my WPRO colleague, Han, and to my SEARO colleagues, Rashid and Faustina, for providing the needed facilitation. And of course, from our WASH colleagues from HQ, especially Jennifer. What now? Maybe you are asking, what do we do next? This training is part of the DFAT-supported WSP surveillance and WASH activities that are still ongoing. So future conversations could be on certification of auditors, sharing more experiences, and moving forward to more training and carrying out WSP audits in your respective countries. You are given the tools, resources, and publications which can be useful later on. For example, also, the climate resiliency guidance for WSPs will be published next year, as Angela has mentioned. I know the country participants have varying degrees of WSP experience and knowledge, and I hope you will help us continue in refining WSPs and providing case studies and lessons learned. You may be curious about the certificates, and as have been mentioned, WPRO and SEARO will facilitate the issuance of the certificates requiring at least 80% of training time. In WPRO, we have about 10 participants, so Han can verify and manage to finish the work next week and can distribute the certificates issued by WHO HQ in Geneva. So once again, thank you very much to all and have a good weekend. Bye. Over to you, Rashid.
Thank you, Jean. I'm Regional Advisor of WASH and Climate Change from SEARO, Hussein Rashid. Good morning and good afternoon to all participants, trainers, and facilitators. During the past 5 days, I think, and I'm sure that you all have acquired new and useful knowledge and learning experience in water safety plan audits, WSP steps and key terms, what, why, who and when WSP auditing should be done, and preparations for audit, the toolbox scoring and practical exercise that we have gone through was quite useful, and I think from the remarks that we see in the chat box, it's evident. This useful and relevant information knowledge should be used and implemented to assist in the sustainable and profitable management of water safety plan audits in your respective countries. And I'm confident that what you have gained will immensely benefit this. I also hope that you will disseminate the acquired knowledge to your colleagues as well. We have seen quite a huge interest from member states, and we will ensure that more training opportunities on WSP audit and WSP takes place in the coming days as well. This was very practical and useful, and it will certainly help improving the water quality of water supply systems in your countries. And this was a bi-regional training, as has been mentioned a couple of times, which provided the opportunity to understand what is happening in different countries, in different regions, which was very helpful. Like we had the opportunity to hear from experts from Philippines, Australia, providing very important guidance as well. You all have actively engaged and participated, which was very important in making this training a success. I also take this opportunity to thank Daryl, Angela, Faustina, Anne, Rodel, Ravi, Jennifer from HQ, and IT staff, and all those who have contributed and worked so hard to make this event, to make sure that this event went smoothly. I know for some it was early in the morning and late in the evening, but you all attended and showed your dedication and commitment and allowed us to really achieve the objectives of this training. On behalf of the Regional Director, Dr. Poonam Petrapasin, DPM, and Senior Management from SEARO, I take this opportunity to congratulate you all for successfully attending this training, and we look forward to all of your efforts in your respective countries in WSP implementation and audits. Thank you once again. I hand over back to Darren.
Well, thank you very much, Jean and Rashid, for those closing remarks.
Thanks again to everyone for a really great week.
Thank you. Bye.